Hi, I'm Tom Pickering and we're doing a bit of river fishing today, and I'm on the fabulous Burton side stretch and the road length. Now, I was brought up on rivers and river fishing is my first love. Probably always has been and always will be. So I'm going to show you, there's a few tips on stick float fishing and waggler float fishing, and show you how to catch a few fish on the famous River Trent. Well, that's a little perch in the net. Let's see if we can catch some of them nice river roach and dace. One of the things I'm really particular in fishing is organisation. Organisation at your peg. It's really important that you get yourself organised so that you can fish comfortably, not stretching about, not moving about, not making a disturbance, because all you'll do is scare the fish. So try and get everything together in one place at the right time. First of all, you get your box set up, and all I do, I put it in water where, probably 6 inches of water where I'm nice and comfortable. I've got the legs stationary. My MVA Z frame is perfect for it because there's 4 legs on it. You put it down, make it sturdy, you can sit on it all day, you can stand up on it all day, it's not going to move and you're going to be comfortable. The next thing is your bait tray. Different kinds of bait trays on the market. I like this feeder tray, I just like the feeder tray. Any bad weather or anything, I can put the lid down. I've got my EVA bait system where I can have a mixture of baits. In this case I've got casters, maggots and ground bait. But everything is at hand, and it's very important the positioning of that is just level with the bottom of the seat, so you're not stretching down the whole time. Because you're using bait every cast, or you might have to pick your catapult up, you want it level with just the bottom of the box so that you can go down and you're not stretching. Don't put it too low where you're bending down all the time, just put it where your hand goes in the box and picks out without moving your body. My rods that I'm going to be using, or equipment, are set so I can just pick them up. Sometimes they're on the left, sometimes they're on the right. It depends on what type of peg, especially on the Trent, like on this peg that I'm on, it's very difficult to actually get the rods that side. So I put them on the left. So everything's in a position where I can just pick them up. Behind me I have a back tray. It's just a normal Maver tray and I've converted it into a back tray. I love a back tray for the simple reason I can put my stacker on there, I can put my different kinds of things behind me, so I'm not moving about, I'm not stretching. So everything is at hand. My keep net is in front of me, my landing net is on the top of either the bait station or on top of the keep net, but everything is at hand. Now you might even think, what's that little bowl doing there? Well, there's a reason for that. And all I do, I either put ground bait in it when I'm feeder fishing so I can actually fish my feeder, or because how many times have you dropped your catapult in the water and been trying to scoop it out? So what I do, I put the little bait tray aside, and then when I find some bait in, I just put the pouch in and put it there, and it never drops in the water. So I always have a little tray. So everything is organised at my peg, so that when I'm fishing, I can just pick my catapult up. I'm not stretching to pick any maggots up, put them in the catapult, fire them out, put it back down, I'm organised. So everything around me is organised. It makes a massive difference when you're fishing, when you're organised at your peg, you're comfortable, you're not standing, stretching, splashing in the water, moving about, scaring the fish. So get yourself comfortable, it's dead easy. Right, we're set up, we're organised around this peg now, and before we start fishing, one of the most important things you do when you're fishing, plumb the depth. It's so important you know how deep it is, that you're going to be fishing somewhere near the bottom, where the ledges are and everything. But when you plumb the depth at the start, it's only a rough idea to give you a rough idea of the depth. When you're fishing, you actually find that depth back more correct by running it through your peg, dragging the bottom, whatsoever. But first of all, we need to find an estimate of what the depth is. And all you do, you get your hook, and you get a plummet. Get a big plummet, 3/4 ounce or even an ounce. Make sure you can feel it when it hits the bottom, it's really important. Thread the hook through the top and put it into the bottom sponge or cork. And that's going to sit on the bottom like that. Set your float at a depth that you're comfortable with, that you think it might be. Then all you do, take your bail arm off, swing it out, hit the bottom and let the float go down, and a little bit of slack line, and your float will come straight to the top. Now then, this is the point you need to know, because if when you go tight line, if the float is stuck out more, you have to lower it down, and if it disappears, you put more on. And that's all that you do until you roughly can just see your float halfway up the float. Then once I get halfway up the float, I know roughly I've got some depth. So if the float sinks, put more depth on. If the float stuck out, shallow off. And then what you do, you take your plummet off and you run your float through the peg. You run it through the peg, and if it doesn't catch the bottom, put an inch on until it catches the bottom. When it catches the bottom, take that inch off, and that's the correct depth you should be fishing. So the plumbing, it gets it an estimate, but then trial and error by running it through your peg tells you the correct depth that you're fishing. So find it, run it through. If it drags on the bottom, take an inch off. If it drags again, take another inch off until it runs through nice and smooth. And that's all you've got to do to plumb up. It gives you some idea of what the depth's like, so that your hook bait is near the bottom, which is what you're trying to do. Right, we're catching plenty of fish, lots of dace, roach, some nice perch, fishing really well. So when I've got my rigging, I'm going to talk you through the rig and what tackle I use when I'm stick float fishing. First of all, the line. The line's really important. You want a line that you can actually make to float on the water, and it's 0.17 power reel mono. It's a fantastic line, and it just does what it says. It just works perfectly for stick float and waggler fishing. It's a nice light line, it runs through the rod rings nice and smooth, just perfect for this kind of fishing. Now the stick float. The stick float's really important, and the one I'm using is a signature in line. Now that, what I mean by in line, the line actually runs through the centre of the body. So that's one way, or you can use it like I'm using it, like a conventional stick float, where I've got a rubber near the top, the line's not running through, and then a rubber under the body, and the bottom rubber is just overlapping, so the line always comes through the centre of the rubber. So it's not, some people have it up there and it's not right. It needs to be overlapping. So 3 rubbers, one near the top, one in the middle and one at the bottom, and that keeps the line nice and straight with the float. But of course you can have it running through the centre of the body if you like an inline float as well. So that's the float. In this case, this is a 4x14s. You can get them in different sizes, and the bigger float you use is usually the depth or the speed of the current. So the faster it is, you'll need more weight on the line to get it down, or the depth. So it's all about the depth and the speed of the size of the float that you're going to use. In this case, it's about 8 foot deep. It's running through nice and steady, so a light one, a 4x14, is absolutely perfect. But when you're stick float fishing, one of the most important things is the way that you set up your terminal tackle, which is your shot. Now, I don't use stots, I use shot for fishing on rivers. Reason? It's rounder and it runs through the flow better. It's as simple as that, really. But the position on them is absolutely really important. So I never have a shot higher than, from the hook, than 2/3 to the float. So all my terminal tackle, all my shot is from the hook upwards 2/3 towards the float. I don't have any in the top third between the float and the first shot. The simple reason for that is, if you have shot there, the float sits up too quick. It doesn't ride and cock with the shot and work that way and as it goes down the flow. So all my shot are spread out in the bottom 2/3 of the line. So my hook length is 20 centimetres. 010 bottom, MVR line. A prototype hook a size 18, and that depends on the number of fish that I'm catching. If I'm not catching so many, I'll cut it down to a 20. If I'm catching more, I'll try a 16. But it's a nice prototype hook that we're working on for next year. Then, loop to loop between the main line and the hook length. It's the most practical knot there is, because if I have a problem I can change the hook length pretty simple. Then above that I have a number 10 shot, and then about 6 inches above another 10 shot. 6 inches above that I've got a number 9, then I start on my number 8s. And what I do, I spread them out between 3 and 4 inches, a bit like shirt button style, up to 2/3, spread out evenly until the float cocks to the actual tip. So all the shot is in the bottom 2/3, and there's a reason, 2 reasons for that. One is that when you cast out, the shot will take the float. You don't want the float casting the shot, you want the shot casting the float. So when I cast it, the shot will go and the float will follow, and then it'll land downstream and it'll drop in a nice smooth line. So them's the 2 reasons why they're in that position. One, simple, is that it cocks, so it's going down the swim to the tip of the float, and that's really, really important. So don't put your shot too far near your float, because your float will sit up quickly and you'll misread what's happening in the peg. So that's my terminal tattle. I just have a number 18 hook, 010 bottom, 017 main line, 2 number 10s, a number 9, and the rest are number 8s, and then a signature inline stick float 4x14. Simple setup, cast it in properly and it works perfectly. One of the things on a river, that one of the biggest mistakes that people make, they fish it in the wrong spot. A river, this river today, is flowing from right to left, and you won't believe how many people want to feed upstream of where they're fishing. And the problem is, when you're river fishing, if you lose feed upstream, the fish will be under the bait where you're throwing or firing in. Now, I don't know why it works that way, but it just works that way, so trust me. The moment you fire bait upstream, the fish will come under the bait. I know they don't get down there, but for some reason the fish come under the bait. So when you fish in a river, you always fish it downstream. So what you do, you get your bait, whether you throw it or you catapult it, and fire it 2 yards down your peg. So that when you cast, you're casting down your peg. And that way, when the fish come up, they'll come up under the bait, and you can actually run onto the bait. Very simple. But let the fish come under. And on a river, it works that way, just like that. All I've done is fire the bait 2 yards down my peg. I've cast it on top of the bait, which is down my peg, and I've had a lovely dace like that. Most people want to fire bait upstream, and it's the worst thing you can do on a river, because all you're doing, you're feeding the angler above you. You're helping him draw the fish into his peg. So all you do is get your maggot, hook it gently as you can like that. Because we're fishing downstream, I want the rig to lay in the correct manner. In other words, I want the hook downstream of the float with the shot spread out in the middle, so that the shot is dropping through the water and the float is cocking to the shot, and hopefully the fish will intercept it on the way, or if not, I'll catch it on the bottom. To get in that position, when it's river's right to left, I cast like that and flick it round. So that it lands round, the float is upstream of the hook, and then it's cocking that way with the shot going down. And then all you do is you feed in the same spot, 2 yards down your peg. The float and bait is under the maggots that have gone in, and you get a bite and you strike into your fish like that. There you go. Nice little roach. There you go. There's plenty of them, there's plenty of bites, but you can hook them and catch them pretty simple. But remember, down your peg, not up your peg, down your peg, so your fish will come under your feed, they're in your peg, and you can lay your tattle and fall your bait through the maggots and present your bait perfect. Perfect feeding, perfect presentation, and you'll hook most of your bites. Let's get another one. Right, so cast, slightly downstream, pick your catapult up or throw your maggots, but at this distance I want to be firing. 2 yard down my peg, my tattle now is laying, oh, and I missed that one, but it was on the drop, and my tattle is falling through them maggots that's going through the water. And that's all that you're trying to do. Cast, line it up, catapult, feed. Get into that nice rhythm all the time, and the fish will come under the bait. I don't know why it works on a river, but it does. They come under the bait. I know the bait can't get down. It's impossible for the bait to get down. I don't know how it works, but all I'm saying to you, I don't complicate things. That's how it works, trust me. Cast, feed, routine. And if you'll get in that all the time, your line is at the back of your float on the water. There we go. He's like a little roach. There you go. And that is feeding right under the bait that I'm firing in. And the bait is not getting to the bottom. So if you put them upstream, you can't get at your loose feed. You can't fish where your loose feed is bringing them fish in. So that's why you fish downstream. Now then, let me talk about the rod that I'm using and why I'm using this particular rod. In the Signature Pro range, in the float rods, there's 4 rods, 13, 14, 15 and 16. Today, for stick float fishing, I'm using the 16 foot. Why, you might ask? Well, I think the 13 and the 14 foot are better for waggler fishing. So if I'm fishing short distance, I'd probably use the 13 foot. If I'm going a bigger distance, I'll use the 14 foot. But when I'm fishing the rivers, especially on stick float, I want 15 or 16 foot. And what you've got to do is pick what's most comfortable for you as a fisherman. I prefer the 16 foot. The simple reason is it's light, it's got a nice through action, it's got a nice action in the tip, it's got lots of runners in it, so the line runs very smooth through the rod. But when you pick it up, it feels like a 13 foot. It's not heavy, it's light, it's really comfortable when I'm fishing. But because I've got that extra 2 or 3 foot difference, it helps me to present the float better. And if I present the float better, I'll get better presentation, I'll catch more fish. But it's easy to use, and that's why I'm using. It's got nice EVA system, the rod handle is nice and smooth, so it fits around your hand nice and comfortably. Like I said, it's got loads of runners. We haven't, tried to cut the number of runners down to make it lighter. There's lots of runners on it, so the line runs free. Runs nice and smooth, free through the rod rings, so that means your float will go down the peg nice and smooth and won't be jerking backwards and forwards because there's not enough rod runners on it. But because it's 16 foot, it makes life a lot easier. It makes me as a fisherman be a lot more comfortable, present it better, and if I present it better, I'll catch more fish, and that's what we're all trying to do. So if I'm stick float fishing, I prefer the 16 foot every time. If you're in the market for that kind of rod, make sure you have a look at it because it's fantastic. Right, today, bait wise, I'm using bronze maggots. I always have a few reds mixed in as an alternative change, and sometimes I like the red maggot better than the bronze. I always have a few casters because sometimes the fish want caster. Always remember this, it's not always maggots, it's not always casters, it's the fish that will tell you by changing and finding out what bait they want on that day. Today the best bait is bronze maggot by a million miles. So I just get the one that the biggest one I see that I fancy. I just nick the hook between its 2 eyes, there's a little bit of skin, just pop it on there. And then all I do, the routine is this. I get the tattle, I flick it round so the hook goes below the stick float. And now I know the shot's going to settle nice and the float's going to cock up perfectly. Then I get my catapult and I put about 20 to 25 maggots in, and I direct it I pull the pouch and I direct it to the fish, pull, and the maggots will go out on top of the float, and I know that my hook bait then is going through with the maggots. Pick the rod up, put it on, and there's a fish on. And when you get it right, it can be as simple as that, it really can. But the reason why that was simple is because you feed downstream. Oh, nice perch, look. There you go. So, one of the most important things in fishing is this, the feeding. And feeding, when I was a kid, I was taught little and often. It was the best way then, and it's still the best way today. So all it's about is feed often. Cast, feed, cast, feed. Little and often has always been the best way of feeding, and it always will be. So, routine, cast, all in a straight line, rod between my legs so my hands are free so I can pick the catapult up. Maggots in, pouch, aim, pull, put the pouch back down, pick the rod back up, and your maggots are going down the swim, and your hook bait is in the middle of them maggots, and all you're doing is waiting for a bite, like that. This feels like a dace, this one. There you go, look. I love them fish. Maggot fishing for dace at its best. That's all you've got to do. But remember, little and often. Last fish of the day. I've had a wonderful day. The river has never had as many fish in it. It's absolutely full of fish. I've thoroughly enjoyed the day. I've caught some big perch, I've caught roach, I've caught dace, caught lots of bites all the time. I've really enjoyed the day. I hope you've picked a few tips up that can help you next time you go to the river. So that's it, had a great time. Like I say, I hope you learned a few tips. Thanks for watching.